Good afternoon, Source Gamer. This is PhantomZ2 coming at you with another discussion, this time a review discussion about Pokemon Sword and Shield's expansion pass, Part 1, the Isle of Armor. Today I have with me Hamada.
Hey guys.
And we are going to be discussing the Isle of Armor DLC as he's finished it, I've basically finished it. All I have left to do is just do one more final battle with Mustard, but that's basically the last thing you can do other than some other extra stuff. But before we actually get fully into the Isle of Armor DLC, we're going to be talking about, we're gonna lead into it first. So similar to the same way that we had in our Ninjala discussion about like announcements and stuff like that, and to the lead up to the actual thing that we'll be discussing, the same thing's gonna be done here. So just to actually start off with introductions, Hamada, what is your favorite Pokemon game? Like, what is your where do you stand with the franchise right now?
Overall, I pretty much like every Pokemon game I play, but my favorite games are usually the spin-offs. My favorite is Mystery Dungeon, particularly Explore the Sky. But if we're talking about the main series, my favorite are the typical ones as of now, Heart Gold, Platinum, Black and White 2. All those ones are my favorite.
Right.
How about you?
I'd have to agree with you. I don't, in terms of for myself, I don't really play the spin-off games. The most I've ever delved into them was Pokemon Battle Revolution, and I've played some Trozy, I played some Shuffle for a while, and there was one other game the Pokepark games. I didn't like them too much, but I still played them. Other than that, but I mostly stick with the main games, and as for the main games, I'm really basically a big fan of Soul Silver, Platinum, Black and White, Black 2 and White 2 especially. But I also do, from time to time, replay Pokemon Emerald, because I just find them the easiest to go back to restart every time and just keep playing, just continuously do new save files over and over again. So I guess it's Heart Gold and Soul, not Heart Gold, Soul, Emerald is kind of like my favorite to play constantly, but my most memorable times with a Pokemon games have been basically Gen 4 and Gen 5, even though I started in Gen 2.
Yeah, I agree with you that replayability is really important to have, and it is what makes those older games a lot easier to revisit, especially with they're a bit less handholdy than modern games, so they're a lot easier to go back to and kind of diversify your team and stuff.
Right. And now that you don't really have to, I guess to a certain point, you can't worry too much about bringing over your old Pokemon. If you don't have a regular DS that actually has the Game Boy cartridge or other aspects like that, since we've already most likely all moved our Pokemon into Pokemon Home now, we can just freely replay those games without having to worry about losing all our Mons anymore.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I did too.
So now that we've gotten that out of the way, we should be talking about the main game the main game that we're discussing, not the expansion pass, but actual Pokemon Sword and Shield. And if you guys had saw my review, you would know that already that I was kind of mixed on it. While I did like certain aspects of it in terms of the story, and like how basically you're not the main character, it's more of Hop, and the way that the story really focuses on his relationship with his brother and how he's growing up as a character. That's what I really liked about it, but it doesn't feel like the character has much to do with this. It feels like they're just along for the ride and watching this stuff happen. In addition to also the gameplay, of course the battle system is always going to be the same thing, and Dynamaxing was okay-ish. I do think that the main thing that bothered me about this was the lack of wild encounters and the wild area itself, and the fact that even though there are smaller routes, I kind of was wishing that there was that instead of there being routes and the wild area, that the wild area actually interconnected more with the cities and towns that you would be traveling towards, and also that there would be more wild encounters, because now that since there's no more wild encounters, I didn't feel a need to actually go into the grass and battle Pokemon, even though I did, of course I had to, because through trainer battles and some Pokemon do catch you. There was still that aspect of, I already know what's coming. Do I want to deal with this? Well, no. And also the terrain of the design of not levels, but the design of the areas didn't really force you to encounter Pokemon the way that the old games did. And that was where that's really what bothered me about the base game.
Well, the thing
Uh,
about the encountering wild Pokemon is I still took a lot of time to encounter most of them because I was going for the shiny charm by completing the
mm,
decks, which I did do. So it still felt like I was encountering a lot of wild Pokemon, but it just felt more natural and less like I was being forced to do it. So I definitely enjoyed the changes made in terms of overworld encounters. But as for the wild area, yeah, I agree. I think a lot of people expected it to be connected to more towns and be more open than it ended up actually being. And I really hope that it's expanded on even more, as we'll see it actually was, in my opinion. But
right.
as it was in the base game, it was definitely disappointing to see it be like the only area where there are actual unique places to go to. And even in that case, there weren't that many, but I still found some. But like, meanwhile, the routes were kind of just condensed as much as possible that I can't really remember much of them at all.
Yeah, there's only like it feels like there's only five of them. Even though there's probably a bit more. Like if you count, like there's like two caves. There's the routes that lead into the caves and out of the caves, and small stuff like that. But
Yeah, I
there's
think.
nothing like. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I was saying I think that they're like taking out a lot of the explorability of the routes and left them a bit more like hallways, which I have felt since Alola and Sun and Moon, but I think it's been changed for the better recently.
Right.
If we're going to talk about the DLC, but overall in base game, I think that they really kind of messed up on the routes, to be honest.
Yeah, and also with your, I did. It says how you had a goal of trying to do the shiny charm. The one goal I did have for encountering wild Pokemon was, oh, if it's a new Pokemon, of course I'm gonna go encounter it because that's kind of what I do with any Pokemon game that I try to like really go out and catch as many of the new Pokemon that I see. Granted, if I like their design or not, but
Hmm.
just because that's kind of the whole point of a new region is a new Pokemon. But I kind of, and after like encountering them once, I didn't really feel like having to do it again afterwards. So that's kind of where my I guess my personal issue came. Or like I'm pretty sure a lot of people like the idea of going to a being able to see what Pokemon that you encounter. Unfortunately, I don't think it's like Let's Go where if it's a shiny Pokemon it shows up in the overworld. I'm pretty sure people would have preferred that to happen. But
They should have
I
kept
guess
that, yeah.
they did keep it or they didn't.
No, they should have. They should have.
Oh, right. So, and then there's also the fact of how you said with the being forced. That's kind of the reason why I liked it because I'm forced to encounter these wild Pokemon because they're supposed to be wild. They're supposed to attack. They're supposed to kind of like attack you, especially if they're like a high level Pokemon and they're like ferocious, like a Pangoro or a like how we'll see in the Isle of Armor Sharpedos.
Hmm.
They're those type of Pokemon that will attack you. It kind of makes sense for more Pokemon to try to approach you because that's just kind of the nature of being a wild Pokemon and you have a trainer basically coming into your habitat and just strolling through.
I
At
get
least
it
that's
from
the
a
way I
world
pictured
building
it.
perspective. Why wild Pokemon attacking you makes more sense, but I think it was still handled in a more natural way with gameplay when the Pokemon are in the overworld, since they do still chase you. The aggressive ones and
Hmm.
the more chill ones leave you alone, which is how I'd expect the world to go. But world building aside, I just think it's a good mechanic that lets you choose your fights and get a bit more curious when you see like a you know, generic noise and walk towards it to see what it is.
I can understand that. But after we beat Pokemon Sword and Shield, basically now what was left was okay, what's next? What's going to happen next? Is there going to be a new game? Hopefully not, because that means we have to spend another $60.
Yeah.
But would there instead be DLC, which is something that has never happened for the Pokemon franchise before? Well, of course, they couldn't happen before for the older games like like DS and prior, because we didn't have like I guess Nintendo at the time didn't have a way to update games like that. Like they probably had
Hmm.
game updates, but not like, oh, here's a DLC expansion for this game. And like most of the time back then, the Pokemon games were pretty big already. You kind of didn't beat them in like 5 days or less.
Yeah.
At least for my experience, and like they were packed with content for you to enjoy. But then with the 3DS games, it was kind of like, well, you can update this with DLC now because we already know that you're doing DLC for some of your other games. So if you can do it with Pokemon, why not do it with Pokemon? But I guess personally, I always had the issue of Well, at this point, most of our Pokemon from playing so long are going to be at level 100. And what they're going to have to do if they're going to do like any type of new game plus or like a new area that you can explore is that the trainers also need to be 100. So it's kind of either not going to be as much fun because you don't really have something to strive towards since you won't be like raising your Pokemon anymore after they hit 100. And that's kind of always been the weird issue I always thought with DLC. So that's why I was kind of iffy on if we would get any, but I still kind of thought that, hey, it's kind of too early to be making a new game. They probably will end up doing it. What were your thoughts on after the game, like what they would do?
Well, after the National Dex controversy, I was expecting at some point, whether it be alongside a new game, for the old Pokemon to be patched into Sword and Shield at some point. But wasn't sure how it was going to be done. And this expansion definitely caught me off guard. I didn't expect it to happen like that. Sorry,
okay.
Go on.
I was gonna ask, you said you didn't expect them to, you didn't expect a DLC, but you expected a patch, right?
Yeah.
So like if there was gonna be another game, were you expecting it to be like another Sword and Shield game or like a different type of game?
I was expecting, for example, let's just say Sinnoh remakes. Like they release Diamond and Pearl remakes, and then as they released them, a massive patch would go out to every game in Generation 8, so just Sword and Shield, to allow all or as much Pokemon as possible to be in the data for the sake of trading and battling between the two.
Right. I can understand that then.
Kind of like what ORS and XY didn't do when Mega Rayquaza and the other new Hoenn Megas and Primals were announced, but XY didn't get them. I thought it changed this time.
That is true. I totally I kind of forgot about that. Oh man. Oh god, those games are like 7 years old now. It's so weird to think about now.
Yeah, it is.
So I believe in a February direct of this.
January.
No, not this year. Was it? Yeah, it was this year, right?
Yeah, January this year. I'll never forget the day Rescue Team DX was announced.
Right. So they announced Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX, and then they also announced that there would be an expansion pass for Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield. And with the trailer, they showed off some new Gigantamax forms for the starter, some new Galarian formed Pokemon, some new Regis that we'll be seeing later in the year for the second part of the expansion pass. But the first part of the expansion pass that they were showing off was called the Isle of Armor, and that would introduce a new legendary called Kubfu, and there's a dojo that you'd be attending where you would meet Kubfu. And with all of that stuff, we also got the announcement of all their Pokemon returning. I believe they said over 200 or 100? Over 200 Pokemon will be returning? Something like that? And
I think about 100 came back.
Did they mean 100 per expansion pass or 100 in total?
I'm pretty sure 100 came with Isle of Armor, and 100 more will come with Crown Tundra.
Okay. So we got 100 plus Pokemon coming into Isle of Armor. And then we also have the two new Pokemon, which is Kubfu and its evolutions. Well, 2 evolutions, even though they go under the same name, just different forms. We have a new place to explore, some new characters two characters, one per game per version that you have. And that was kind of it for Isle of Armor. There's some other stuff, like, of course, like Galarian Slowpoke, where you can has two evolutions. I think I still haven't even evolved mine.
Well, so far it only has 1 evolution into Slowbro, but with Crown Tundra it'll get Slowking.
Okay, so I wasn't sure because I don't normally have a Slowpoke, so I just didn't know. I wasn't sure if like, hey, am I doing this wrong by leveling it up so long? Am I supposed to give it like a stone to evolve or something? So I wasn't.
Pretty much.
Okay. And anyways, so with that trailer and that announcement, we basically got the idea of, oh snap, more new Pokemon are coming. And while some people were probably kind of excited, there was also some people upset that, oh, you're making us pay for these new Pokemon, where the thing is, actually no, the Pokemon are going to be coming through a patch. So even if you don't have the Isle of Armor DLC, you can still get the Pokemon as they'll be in the data. Similar to the way that in Sun and Moon, there were some Pokemon that aren't actually in Alola, and they aren't in the Pokedex either, but they're still in the game itself.
Yeah, I mean, the Unova games are pretty much unanimously praised at this point, but it had a ton of Pokemon in the data that were unobtainable, so I think
Right.
Galar having some Isle of Armor Pokemon that base games can't get conventionally is completely fine, especially since base game people can still get them through raids, wonder trades, and all that other stuff. So if
Right.
anything, it's more accessible than the missing Pokemon from Unova.
Ooh. Oh man, I kind of totally forgot about the not being able to get Pokemon back in Unova because I was so focused on the new Pokemon.
Yeah, Unova is definitely unique in that.
So with the release of Isle of Armor, which was I believe 2 weeks ago now, June 17th or June 18th, we have the DLC. I got a review code from Nintendo. Thank you, Nintendo. And I believe you got it through having to buy it. Did you buy Did you already buy the whole expansion pass, or did you just buy or are you able to just buy part 1?
You have to buy the whole pass, and
You
I
have to
just
buy the
bought
whole
the whole
pass?
thing, like day one, because why not? I want it anyway.
Okay. So basically, now at this point, we're going to just run down what Isle of Armor is before we give our thoughts on it. So if you already actually right after at the end of the direct, the Pokemon Direct, they were giving it away. They was basically the game would be updated and you would receive a Galarian Slowpoke. So I actually, as soon as I got the Isle of Armor DLC code, that was when I got it, because from that point, after I did the initial review for Pokemon Sword and Shield, I didn't touch the game at all. I didn't touch it again. I was like, I kind of don't want to play it. And now that I know the DLC is coming, I'm definitely not gonna play it. I'm just gonna wait. And so my journey started off with meeting Clara at not Hammerlock. No, wait, no, it is Hammerlock. At Hammerlock Station, and then
Wedgehurst actually, but it's semantics.
Say it again.
Wedgehurst actually.
Oh yeah, that's right. I always get the cities mixed up. Wedgehurst City is a station that you go to for once you get the armor pass. As soon as you boot up the game, you'll get a notification saying, "Hey, you can receive the armor pass at Wedgehurst Station," and that was where I also met Clara. I got the Slowpoke, and then you take a train towards a different station, and you actually take a flying taxi towards the Isle of Armor. And once you get there, there's going to be a scientist there that updates your Pokedex, so she can give you the basically Isle of Armor expansion for your Pokedex. And then you meet Clara, who basically tells you, hey, I know you're here for this Master Dojo that the player character has no idea about, even though the player themselves might actually know about it because, we're the one watching the trailers and stuff like that. But the character actually doesn't know anything about this. So at this point, we're completely confused. And this is kind of where we get into instantly meeting the type of character that Clara, and I'm going to assume Avery.
Yeah, Avery the same.
Yeah, Avery is exactly the same.
Pretty much.
Okay, yeah.
Different backstories though, but their behavior in the actual story is pretty much the same.
All right. So they kind of like this. At some points, they're like this, I guess, drama kid type theater character where the camera really focuses on their face and they're talking to the camera itself. But it's mostly just them acting in a very pompous or popular kid type way where they're like, is this kid making fun of me? Does this kid actually think that they're better than me and stuff like that? And as soon as you finish meeting her and she tells you about the dojo, you guys head outside and have a Pokemon battle. And for me, I actually did lose the first time because I was under assumption that my Pokemon would be healed when I got there, and half of my team was already dead. So I lost instantly and I had to come back and battle again. Even though weird thing, I know that it's kind of weird for us to be getting into a talk of cons already, but it's kind of weird how if you lose, the scientist that's there that gives you the Pokedex update heals your Pokemon, but if you go to talk to her, she doesn't heal your Pokemon if you talk to her. That was a bit weird, and I didn't understand why that happened, but
I feel like they did that because Isle has so few healing points, and if you didn't get to the dojo yet where there is one, then they gotta heal you up somehow, instead of taking you all the way back to the mainland, so they just slapped the ability to heal onto the scientist in emergencies when you've lost to the rival.
I mean, I kind
They
of
should
lost
still
the
kept it permanent, but whatever.
yeah.
They had their own
that,
role.
yeah, that was my issue with it. I thought that was really weird. But anyways, so after you beat her, which you eventually have to, you have no other option. She's like, "Oh, you're better than me." No, you're not. But she's like very stubborn about it. Like, "Hey, I can't believe I lost. But if you're gonna be better than me, I'm not gonna let you get to the Master Dojo because I'm not gonna let you outshine me. I'm not gonna let you steal my spotlight." So she's like, "Hey, there's no Master Dojo here. Just go off and wander on your own." And that's basically
Which I did.
Yeah, I did do the exact same thing too.
Which I gotta quickly praise the thing for, because I didn't get much ability to explore in Galar, but now I actually am encouraged to explore, and it felt pretty rewarding finding some old favorites just wandering around. So even if they weren't new, it was still really fun for the first bit.
Right. So since we had the same exact experience, I guess we can talk about the air quotes wild area now, because this game, well, this DLC expansion is all wild area. There is no routes. There's no specific routes. It's all an open area from land to ocean, and some caves, and some, like, I guess mountaintops you can call it, where you can freely explore however you want to. And of course, while in some instances, well, which we'll get to later, you have to go to certain places. But first thing I did was go underwater, and I got chased down by sharpedos. I went into this small, like, little island of land where I caught a Rotom fan, and if you go the next day, you can catch a different Rotom. I was kind of surprised already so far to see, like, there was a lot of Pokemon that I kind of really missed. Like, before I was like, I don't care about these Pokemon as much. Like, yeah, everybody's got a favorite, but I'm way more interested in the new Pokemon. But seeing the old Pokemon again, like, really made me smile. And it was the fact that you could explore and freely go see as many Pokemon as you want to, with, like, Baneri and Jigglypuffs, and the Baneri, Jigglypuffs, I believe there were some Shinx as well, Lilligants, Petlittles, Amoonguses, like a lot of different Pokemon, Poliwag, Quagsire, not Poliwag, Quagsire, Wooper, there you go. There was just a whole bunch of Pokemon that you could just go around and find, and that really encouraged me to explore while also enjoying the actual terrain and the topography of the actual landscape.
Yeah, it felt way more constructed this time and focused on the Pokemon there.
Right. But eventually you do have to progress through the story. So I'm assuming that after both of us, we did some exploration, we headed towards the Master Dojo, where we meet, oh gosh, I can't remember her name right now. I believe
Honey.
It's Honey? Oh, I was about to say Olive.
Honey is pretty easy to name to remember. It's just a really bad pun.
Honey mustard. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
I can't believe I didn't realize that, and that's actually my favorite condiment to use on, like, chicken nuggets and stuff. I can't.
Well, there you go. 10 out of 10. Thank you all for coming.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't realize that. Anyways, Honey is the kind of, I guess you could call it she's the mom of the dojo. That's basically the way you can, that's the way to phrase it. She's the mom of the dojo. She introduces you, and Clara's like, oh, nah, this person isn't supposed to be here, but your player character's like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be here. I'm here for the new Master Dojo, I guess. And you quickly get introduced to the dojo itself. You get introduced to Honey. You get introduced to some of the people that are there when you walk in, and you meet Master Mustard. And that's kind of where it starts, and that's kind of, at that point, it's kind of like what the main goal of it is. So you meet Master Mustard, and he's like, hey, I'm the master. he's this really silly dude, where he's previously the teacher of Leon, who was the champion of the main game before you beat him up.
And quick crackpot theory, the Squirtle and Bulbasaur that Honey gives you, she doesn't give you a Charmander because I think Leon already took it.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Like, oh, he has a Charmander, and also Leon gives you a Charmander. So either that the Charmander he has was a gift from Master Mustard, or that he took that Charizard is actually his own Charizard. So yeah, you receive a starter, and then you get your. You don't get. Do you get your dojo gear first, or do you do the missions first?
You get your dojo gear first, and I'm pretty sure you receive your starter during the same cutscene.
Right. And then, so after you get your starter, after you get your dojo gear, which I gotta say, I do like the design. I guess my only issue with it was that it automatically changed my hair, which was kind of fine, but I liked my hairstyle the way it was. But that's fine. It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter as much. And
By the way, it is also worth knowing that the starters you get can also G-Max, which is the first time, aside from Slowpoke, they're exposed to some new content.
yeah. I actually haven't in my original playthrough of Pokemon Sword, I didn't own any Gigantamax Pokemon, so I don't think I owned any Gigantamax Pokemon at all. So this was kind of a new experience for me with the Isle of Armor, where getting to not only have some Gigantamax Pokemon, but actually use them when I guess when I had to, like at towards the end of the game, I actually did go and hey Cinderace, you want a Gigantamax? Let's do it. So stuff like that. But after you get your dojo and stuff, after you get your gear, your dojo gear, there are missions that you have to do to basically prove your worth prove your worth in the dojo. And once you do that, you get cub food. But the missions themselves they're kind of silly, but they're kind of also like there isn't really a, I guess, karate kid aspect of it, where it's like, hey, these are meant to teach you a lesson about strength and like patience and stuff like that. It's like, no, kind of just do these things to help out around the house.
Yeah, I mean, the only really thing about the trials I remember are that they give you a free cluster of max mushrooms, which I appreciate.
Yeah, that's kind of like the best thing about it is like, oh, I don't have to go out and get them myself. You gotta go. I mean, I have to get them myself, but like after you get it, it's like, oh, you don't have to get another pair because they're gonna be using it for dinner. No, you can actually keep that for yourself. But the first, oh my
sorry.
bad. You
sorry, go on. Okay, I was just gonna say that. Yeah, I did use my first cluster immediately on my shiny Inteleon, but then later on in the story, when I got Cub Fu, I was really not fun looking for more.
Oh, right.
I don't think I was supposed to use them that early, but it was worth it.
So there is the first mission, I believe, was there's these 3 Slowpoke, it's 3 Slowpoke that burst out of the house. Now go find them. And they're all running around in this one area, which, I mean, I kind of wish there was a bigger mission, like where you had to get to explore more of the area. But as the missions go on, you do get to explore the area by trial instead of you choosing to do so by your own free will. So the first trial is capture these Slowpokes. The second trial is get the max mushrooms, which are in I found them in a cave. I don't know if you can find them anywhere else. If they allow you to find them anywhere else.
There are like singular max mushrooms you can find around the isle, but those are the optional ones. But the cluster of 3 in the cave is always there for the story. Okay.
Yeah, there's that cluster of 3. I believe you battle Clara at that point, right? You battle her, and she's like, "Hey, do you want?" And you can even be like, "Hey, you can have them," and he's like, "No, I'm gonna go find my own. I don't need your pity." And it's stuff like that where it's like you can see that Clara's progressively trying hard, but she's still kind of very
annoying.
Yeah, it was annoying because the fact that you can't, even if you try to be nice to her, she gets mad at you. And it's like I don't want you to be mad at me. I prefer us to be friends because I didn't do anything to you yet. I don't really have a reason to hate you. And then
I wouldn't be surprised if all the rivals hated us. We just waltz in with our cardboard personalities and rip their dreams away. So
yeah,
I'd hate me too.
And then after the max mushroom missions, there is, I believe, it's just you and Clara battling at that point, or
yeah, the final trial is the last 2 fighting each other.
Right, and then in that instance, she decides to cheat by setting up toxic spikes in the battle area of behind the dojo. And I mean, that didn't really make the battle any more difficult, but it was.
It for you? No, it didn't make it more difficult for me, but I did think it was really cool that they added that little extra challenge that I think more battles should do, because they know you're going to be coming in with these really strong Pokemon. So add more like unique stuff to make the battle more memorable, like in the main game, how Opal would quiz you in the middle of the fight. Kind of wish they did more stuff like that. But Clara had it way better than Avery, because Avery just put up a psychic terrain, which really isn't much, but toxic spikes actually hinder you, so it actually felt like an advantage or disadvantage.
Right. And I guess the reason why she uses toxic spikes is because as you battle her, you notice that she specifically uses poison type Pokemon. It's because of the fact that she's working towards becoming a poison type gym leader. And that's been her goal throughout this entire thing. That's why she wants to keep you out of the way. But unfortunately, she goes through that by cheating, which, I mean, granted, if she does ever get her own gym and we actually do see her again, I can probably assume that her, like, one of her gym effects would be, hey, there's toxic spikes set actually on the field, which would be pretty cool. And I know from watching some Pokemon fan games, I'm not sure if we're supposed to be talking, we're allowed to talk about that, but I know in some Pokemon fan games or like Pokemon fan ideas, people really use the idea of terrain effects. Now I know we have like the psychic terrain, fairy terrain, electric terrain, grassy terrain, stuff like that. But I mean in terms of like where not just like sandstorms affect you, but like stuff like where if you're in a cave and say if you were to use earthquake, like rocks will actually fall down on top of you and do more damage and stuff like that. So stuff like that I would like to see them add, because they already kind of put one foot in with Clara's battle, and I really liked that idea, even though it didn't hinder the battle much. It really did add like it attempted to add a challenge to the battle.
Yeah, I agree. I think they should definitely keep that going forward with more important battles, that they try to, add a gimmick to them so that they can be more memorable.
Right.
Because I think the only thing I remember from battling her is just that extra effect. So it definitely did its job.
Yeah, that's kind of like that's kind of like the main standpoint, like it's like the key aspect of her battle, like that, like doing something like that really does shine a light on like, oh, you guys, like the Game Freak actually can diversify the way battles work out in some instances, even if it's not changing the overall core mechanics of how the game works.
Yeah, because the games have a lot of little pieces that can be applied to battles that I hope they put in more often. Like there's so many little effects that they can be added.
Mm-hmm.
Like for example, just like off the top of my head, Cinderace's court change, which changes all of the terrains around the stage. They could make a whole battle off of that effect being applied to random fights. Don't want to get off on a tangent, but I think it's a really cool idea that they should expand on.
That's fine. With the expansion and DLC, I mean, like, since that we're paying for more stuff that comes within the game. At this point, I don't think they're actually working on like adding more stuff to the Crown Tundra now. They're probably just in the state of testing it out for bugs and stuff and like polishing it everything. But like, if hopefully they do take that extra mile with the Crown Tundra and like, hey, do more things with it. Depending on how that works out, we're not sure yet, because all we have is the fact that all we know is that it's coming in like the legendary Pokemon and like the returning Pokemon and stuff like that. We don't actually know how it's structured yet from any official trailers or anything like that yet. But after you battle Clara, you beat her. She cries a little, but you do end up forming that friendship. But then she kind of just gets pushed to the side after that, and I was kind of disappointed with that. Like she has no more. You have no more interaction with her after that, basically, and it was like you kind of made this character to kind of act as a foil. Well, not a foil, but like a rival, and she's barely used at all. When like to be fair, the Isle of Armor is pretty short, and it being short isn't really a bad thing because I still had a lot of fun with it. But the problem is just the fact of you have this character that you made for this DLC, and you kind of used them just for when it was necessary, and you don't find it necessary to use them ever again to actually have them still be a character. At that point, they're just like a normal NPC like everybody else, and that's kind of disappointing.
I haven't rematched them myself, but I know they can be. I think they can be fought again because they do have rare league cards to get, which reveal more of their backstory. So
Hmm.
There is more to them, I just didn't really bother, but I do know there is something that we missed.
Right.
But either way, I still think they were kind of underutilized for how big a role they played in the beginning of in the first half of the DLC.
And so after you battle her, she goes to the wayside. But now you have another thing to focus on, which is the legendary Pokemon Kubfu, who is, when you meet him, he's a bit shy. And honestly, when I first saw him, I thought his design was like a little silly. But then after a while, it grew on me. But the way that he interacts with you, the way that he's animated, the fact that he's really shy when you first meet him, it honestly made meeting this new Pokemon a lot. It added a emotional value to it where I kind of, it's the same way of when you meet your starter Pokemon, where you have like that fist bump at the when you first meet them, where at the beginning of Sword and Shield. It was kind of like that, where it's like, oh, I'm meeting this new Pokemon. It doesn't know me, I don't know it, but we have to be together for this trial, and a friendship is actually gonna form. And that's what your mission with Kubfu is. You're going to go to different landmarks within the Isle of Armor, and you are going to check out these spots where you'll view the land with a large view most of the time, and it kind of works in where it's like, oh, we're seeing the sights together. It's just that sometimes the sights don't look too great. Like, I think one of them was in a cave, and I was like, okay, well, what's so great about a cave? But
I don't
one of
think
them
it's
was
really
like,
about. I don't think it's really about showing you the grand sights of the Isle of Armor or anything. It's just being like, go out and explore and stumble upon the locations. Because I'm pretty sure there are multiple viewpoints you can go to, just until you and Kubfu get a bond. So, it's just an incentive to explore, because they have to encourage you to explore this big place.
well, oh, my bad, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Nope, go on.
Okay. So I was gonna ask, did you go to every place, or did you only have to go to one and then you could go back to Mustard?
I went to a few. I'm pretty sure there was like 2 points left or something on the map, exclamation points. I went to one, and then there was like, okay, you have a full friendship, go back to Mustard, and the other just disappeared. Obviously, it's the same animation in that place, so I know I wasn't missing much, but I did explore every area in the Isle.
Okay. I went to each one, but there was one that confused me a bit, where like it's back at where, you enter the Isle of Armor at, and there was an exclamation point there. It's not on the Master Dojo, but there was an exclamation point over there, and I was walking to like where that area was, but nobody was there, so I wasn't sure if like, did I miss it? Was I supposed to do it at a different time, or was that actually a point for, okay, just go back to the dojo? It was really weird. But I mean, weird. I went to every point because I thought that you had to do that, and I didn't want to risk having to travel all the way back to Mustard and then be like, okay, go view more. I was like, oh. Well,
wait, did you not use Fly more often? You could have just used the taxi to him.
Well, no. The thing is that when you use the taxi to go there aren't other points where you can use the taxi towards outside of like, the dojos. So like, that's why I didn't want to go back to him and then have to walk all the way back. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna stay out here and just keep going around and go to the points so we can go to the points so that we can me and Kubfu can see them. And then after I'm done with all of that, then I'll go back. I wanted that to be the last thing I do, so that just in case if, he says to go see more spots, I would already be doing it and I wouldn't have to be told to go back out. I just wanted to do it all in one blow.
Fair enough, but it does straight up tell you after you see a landmark if you're good enough friends at that point.
Yeah, like it said you're good. It kept like every time it said you're good friends with it said you're good friends with Kubfu. You could go check back with Master Mustard. But I thought that I was under the impression that it'll just give me like a how when
it doesn't literally just give you like a progression checkpoint. It's just straight up when it says go check with them, you're done.
Oh, okay. I thought it was gonna do like the thing where it's like, or like in all the games where it's like, oh, your friendship is really good, and then it's like, come back later when your friendship is better. Like I thought it would do that.
But luckily it didn't, because that would have been pretty annoying.
Yeah, I mean, at least I got to explore more with Kubfu. There's no downside to it anyway. So, but
yeah, I really liked Kubfu in this overall. I like how they try to get you to develop a bond with him specifically, and not just him alongside whatever wild Pokemon you catch, which is definitely a strong point of DLC. Well, not really. That's like a good idea they had to try and give the DLC more of a personalized feel.
All right. There. So how did you go about? So actually, let me before I ask that question. As you progressively become friends with him, you'll learn that there are these dojos that you have to challenge, and there is
I
a
think you've used
the,
the word
because
dojo too much. It's
say
just
it again.
towers. I think you've used the word dojo too much. It's like
Well,
the
I mean,
towers.
it's in the shape of
Just
it.
towers.
It's a dojo tower.
Yes, but it's like we just talked about a dojo, so it's like
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, he's right. I don't want to get you guys confused. It's a tower. It's a not battle tower. It's like the old games, but it's two
two
specific type of
dojo-looking
towers.
towers. Yeah.
Right, and one is one is water type based and one is dark type based, and this is because when Kung Fu evolves, it has two ways it can go. It can go to dark type and water type, and I don't remember that I can't remember the names for the life of me of
Single
what's actually
strike
the name.
style Urshifu and rapid styles Urshifu.
Rapid strike.
Rapid strike.
Okay.
Mhm.
At first, I was going to do the single strike. I was going to do the dark type one because that was just the one that I was closest to at the time when I was walking around with him, with Kung Fu. And then I was like, I kind of want to explore some more. And then I found the water type one, and I was like, you know what? I'm already close to this. I'll go do it. But
Perfect, because I did the dark one.
okay, that's good. So we actually do have some differences between how we played. So, but one of the things that did bother me was that based upon what I was hearing on social media, people were saying that the levels do scale to what your Pokemon are.
They scale
So I
to
was
an
like,
extent. Like
yeah,
the most
to
they
an
can scale
extent.
to is a champion level team, not a I've did everything level team.
Right. So the highest they go to is 60, right? With that with like Warlord being at level 80.
Hmm.
So yeah, that was. I wouldn't say that's a letdown because most of my Pokemon were at level 60 anyways. Level 60 and the only Pokemon that was above was my Cinderace, which was like level 67.
Yeah.
But the thing that I kind of was a little annoyed about was the fact of they can't scale down. And the reason why I say that is because the game really wants you to, of course, play with Urshifu. It wants you to level up Urshifu. You have to level up Urshifu because he's the only one. He's the only Pokemon that you can have with you when you're challenging the towers.
Well, yes, they keep you out until you're on level 70. It's funny to
Right.
think about that. Urshifu will need the highest level of any Pokemon to evolve at 70 if you take that at face value.
Yeah, I didn't do it at 70. I was at 60, and I was like, okay, I'm fine. I'm gonna do that. Actually no, I think I was under 60. I think it was like level 58, and I did it. And then at the end of the dojo, we were at like level 62 or something. So I didn't actually do it all the way. I was like, I kind of don't want to waste more time grinding. So let's just do it now. But the
Yeah,
thing is,
that was pretty abrupt. I just gave it EXP. I just loaded it up with EXP candies, and it was at level 100 in one menu.
oh, you did that? Jeez.
What's wrong with that?
Well, I mean, I didn't think you would get it all the way to level 100. I thought you would just go like to exactly like where it was just enough.
No, I mean, I kind of want to make it semi-competitive, which I did. Like, it's pretty much a competitive Urshifu right now, so I just got to level 100.
Nice. So how did you go about training your Urshifu? Because one of the issues I had was that because Pokemon don't scale down, I was carrying other Pokemon with me as I was grinding. I was like, okay, well, of course, my Kung-Fu can't battle, so I'm going to switch out every battle and just have it gain the EXP from the EXP share mechanic, and then if there's a Dynamax Pokemon I can go battle, well, I'm going to go to that Dynamax Pokemon and then get the EXP candies. But my problem with that, I at first didn't want to do that because I guess I'm still dealing with the fact that in the older games you can, like, of course, if you're gonna train an older a lower level Pokemon, you can either go back to the area where, like, there's lower level Pokemon, or you switch out. And I wanted that I wanted to stay in the Isle of Armor, of course, so I had to switch out.
But yeah,
if you
that is pretty
yeah,
annoying. Kung is useless on an Isle of Armor for people who've already beaten the game,
right,
which
and
is
if
why I
you're
just
going,
EXP'd.
my bad.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I
didn't mean
just
to
said
cut you
that's why I went with the candies.
Right. that the my issue with that is that I already know from like beforehand that raising your Pokemon with rare candies is not a good thing to do. Now, raising your Pokemon with EXP candies, I'm not sure if it'll have the same effect as a rare candy. Not in terms of like, oh, it goes up one level, but I'm talking about in terms of how it affects stats.
How it works with giving them candies of any kind is when you do that, your Pokemon never gets the EVs it earns from beating wild Pokemon, but that can actually be a good thing. Like, since I wanted my Urshifu to be competitive, I leveled it up to 100 with EXP candies only, so then I could focus on the EV training instead of having it get random EVs I don't want haphazardly from enemy fighting.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the good part about the candies.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a competitive player like Hamada, then he just gave you like a good strat. If you're like me and you don't play competitive, then my issue comes with I want to have the experience of actually training my Pokemon. I want that Pokemon to actually use I want to actually use that Pokemon in battle. And if I can't, it kind of feels like, well, then what's the point in a sense?
Yeah.
Because now I'm just relying on EXP candies, where when you do Dynamax battles, when you do the max rate battles, you don't actually get EXP, you get the candies. So it's kind of like, well, I get that.
Well, the thing with me is I kind of just train it up to level 100, like all the few shinies I've gotten to semi-competitive, and then I get the battling I would want to get out of them from online battles, which is kind of what I do. I have a few competitive Pokemon, enough to have fun online, pretty much, which I'd recommend doing. I'm not a full-on competitive at all, but I have a few Pokemon I enjoy, fight with them online, have fun, see who I can be.
No, okay, yeah, I can understand that. I do have some. Back when I used to play competitive, I brought those Pokemon over into home and then into my actual game. So I have those on standby, but I don't know if I'll actually go back and play competitive because I'm so. I kind of with Sword and Shield. Well, I'll get back into that later. Actually, I don't want to. I'll save that for later in this discussion. But going back to raising Kubfu, you have to level him up, and since he's the only Pokemon that can go into the towers, you have to focus on him. And I just think that it's a bit weird that it wants you to focus on him, but there's not really a way for you to focus on just him and have him battle just by himself, because the Pokemon don't scale down. And I kind of wish that I get that at any point you're able to just go back and switch to, like, you don't even have to go to a PC anymore. You can just go back and switch, go to your boxes, switch out Pokemon, and then you'll have like a high level Pokemon that you can actually battle wild Pokemon with, where it actually be somewhat of a challenge. And I just was like, why not have it so that the Pokemon scale down to a level that is serviceable for a Kubfu to battle? Because you clearly want me to use this Pokemon. Why not add that mechanic in?
Overall, I think they should have just made Kubfu training easy. I give him a specialized thing instead of making the whole place scale down specifically for him. Just instead of making his friendship stat go up, find a way to make it easy to train with him.
Right. I mean, what would be the solution for that then?
I don't know. Maybe it's like some training regimens where you can go in, fight some levels at around Kubfu's level, and you get like a ton of experience from them.
You mean like also like what if they had like the actual the dojo trainers or whatever they call it, the other NPCs that are there, like you battle them and they're also using low level Pokemon maybe,
but specifically made for Kubfu. Like it's a regimen mustard setup so you could get your Kubfu strong really quickly, because as it is, training it up to level 70 I can see why that can be really annoying, because they expect it to be really high.
Yeah, so if they did something like that where like you actually had like a facility or something to actually train Kubfu, that would be nice. Also, something I forgot to mention earlier, was that once you get Kubfu, they brought back a feature that that a lot of people wanted, which is Pokemon being able to walk around with you outside of their Pokeball. And it's I like that they wanted to bring it back.
It's a mixed bag, yeah, but better than nothing.
Hard
Gold is definitely still the golden standard. Let's Go is still good, but like the way Hard Gold did and Soul Silver did it, where they're always right next to you and unique interactions, is still the best way to do it.
Yeah,
Sword and Shield clearly added in as a bit of an afterthought, but it's okay. I still like seeing my shinies following me every now and then, so better than
Mm,
not being there, if you ask me.
I
Especially
guess.
because you can turn it off.
Right, yeah, yeah. You can't turn it off if you don't like it. Which I didn't want to turn off because, of course, like the whole idea is, hey, explore with cub food. I kind of like, even though it doesn't do anything really, just that part of the journey. Like if you were on a, I guess, use your imagination a little bit.
Hmm.
If you were in actually in the Galar region in the Isle of Armor and you were traveling with your Pokemon, wouldn't you want it out with you being able to see the sights and actual other wild Pokemon where you're about to battle and stuff like that? I know I would. So that's kind of like
Yeah,
that's why I kept my Pokemon walking out. The
to keep
problem with it,
the illusion up.
yeah, the illusion, the illusion. Even though it does absolutely nothing, but it's the sentimental value that comes with playing Pokemon.
Hmm.
But the issue with it is that Pokemon, the Pokemon that you can have out with you, either isn't able to catch up, or
Or it's
it
too
catches
fast.
up. Now say it again.
No, sorry, I interrupted you. It's always too fast, and it just keeps on hitting into you.
Yes, that's what happened with Cinderace. I would run a little, it would catch up, slow down, stop, and then run again. Even though I'm still in the running process, it's like, why not? There's two ways that they could have done it. They could have done it like now with Heart Gold and Soul Silver. I can understand why that's different because that's a sprite-based game. That Pokemon can literally be behind you at all times and it'll be walking. If you run, it'll also run with you. I get that. With a 3D game, it is of course going to be different. The thing is though is that another 3D game did this already, Pokemon Let's Go. And of course,
Well, here's the
I'm
thing.
not you're right, that's a grid-based game.
I just
Right?
wanted to say I think my problem is, like, what I understand is that Let's Go has a map looking down at you. So if you have a massive Pokemon behind you, it won't get in your way. But
Right.
with you know, Isle of Armor, you're usually looking right behind your protagonist. So if you have your Black Kyurem following you, you won't be able to see yourself, just his back.
Right. Even if you push out the camera a little bit, it would like cover your entire body because of how huge that Pokemon is.
Even though the
And
legendaries are scaled down like a lot, but still, that you still get the idea.
yeah. And there's two ways that they could have went about it. Whereas like yeah, even though the camera at some angles the camera will cause the Pokemon to be in front of you. They could have had it where like the Pokemon was directly behind you at all times, where it's in like a fly, like if say for Black and White Kyurem, it's in a flying animation because
It
if
is.
it's a Pokemon that can fly, well the thing is that for Black Kyurem or White Kyurem, it's when it's standing still, it's standing. But when you're running, it'll pick up and fly. What I'm saying is that if it's always going to be behind you, so that way it doesn't have to stop and repeatedly walk again and then fly again. How about just have it fly at all times, and then while you're running, it's always going to be able to catch up behind you, or or have it in a way where, like in Let's Go, where there was a variety of animations where if it's a big Pokemon, you're riding on top of it. If it's a smaller Pokemon like Cubfu, or in some instances, well, not Cubfu, because I think Cubfu is fine enough where it can walk on its own. But for a smaller Pokemon like Meltan, have it be carried on your shoulder or on your bag, because I'm pretty sure we've probably all seen this video. There's the video on Twitter of the dude that had his Meltan out. It took like 3 minutes for it to catch up. Whereas some Pokemon do teleport behind you if you're at a certain distance, but
Yeah,
Meltan
but
won't teleport. It'll actually just keep walking towards you, and it takes like 3 minutes to get there.
yeah, they should not have used their camp speeds, and they really should have added more unique ways for them to get around, like you riding on them in some cases, them riding on you. It was
Yeah,
just added in as a extra little bonus.
right. And I understand that it as a bonus. It's like, well, you can't really ask for too much more, right? Well, I mean, I can still ask for it to work properly. Like
Yeah.
it works, sure. I'm pretty sure this isn't the intended way for it to work, though, where it's like if like how you were saying, from the position that you have your camera, it's going to be behind you when you're walking, and that Pokemon is going to, depending on the Pokemon, by the way, but most of the time the Pokemon will be off screen because it has to try to catch up with you. if that's the case, and then if it catches up to you and it keeps stopping, even though you're running, it's like, well, it'll continuously get lost off the camera. So it's like it'll completely end up off the camera. So at that point, it's like, well, you're not really traveling with your Pokemon anymore unless you're at a specific angle where you can see it. And even then, if you do that, then you're not going to be able to see the Pokemon that's the wild Pokemon that's going to be up ahead, and you're just going to be running into random objects and stuff like that. It's there. It's just not well implemented, honestly. That's really, I guess, the last thing I could say about that. It's not implemented well, but the sentiment is greatly appreciated, honestly. I'll still say that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So once you pick your tower, I picked the water type tower. You picked the dark type tower. It's just Kubfu, and every person. Actually, no, my bad. I'll explain it the correct way. There are 5 levels of the tower, and each level has 1 trainer with 1 Pokemon there. And after each tower, you're gonna progress to the next one, but the last tower involves you battling Master Mustard, who also
the last floor, by the way, not tower. The last floor, not you don't go to different towers for each fight.
Oh, my bad. Thank you for correcting me. On the last floor of the tower, you're going to battle Master Mustard, who also has a Kubfu, but also has one of the best introductions for his battle. Like the way that he animates, where he actually reveals like his true outfit, his true form. That was honestly, that put a smile on my face. Cool. I couldn't contain how happy I was seeing that. I was like, oh my gosh, they actually like. I get that he's only gonna be here for this DLC, maybe, but the way that. It felt like there was like a lot of care that went into characterizing him as like an actual master. Like he's not just the funny guy. He's also a serious trainer.
Do you know about his like pretty sad backstory? Like, did you even hear anything about that?
No, I haven't. Was that in the game?
To give you the quick rundown, as you can hear from his league cards, he was pretty much the former champion of Galar until his partner Pokemon died. Then he pretty much started losing. Then he pretty much started losing everything and obviously that's not good for a champion. It looks so the former chairman at the time wanted to set up a rigged match to make him so that he could guarantee a win. But at that point, he just quit and went to the Isle of Armor.
Whoa! I wish I had got his league card now. That's really sad.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, he's a pretty good character. Definitely the highlight of the DLC, not Clara or Avery.
Oh man, I kind of wish at that point it's like they could have. It doesn't seem like they. I haven't done the final battle against Master Mustard. That's like the last thing that you have to do. But does he say anything about that? Like, is there like any emotional like type of thing that shows that he had something happen to him ever?
No, he doesn't really show anything like that. I think they're supposed to like he's moved past that. He's just congrats for being so strong and all the usual stuff you'd get from fighting him. Okay. Nothing unexpected. Those are from the league cards.
I can understand that. It
was a pretty good fight. It was a pretty cool fight though, so
Mm-hmm.
I know you're already out of it, but I enjoyed fighting him.
Right.
He had a cool team.
I'll have to go back in. But I still plan to battle him because I at least want to finish it off all the way. I don't want to leave it half finished. But after you defeat Master Mustard in a one-on-one Kubfu only final destination battle, because they're
no items, Kubfu only final destination.
No items. Well, I mean, I used some items because he got my Kubfu very low on health, and I was like, oh snap, I have to use hyper potions, and I've got to use some max potions. And even though it was just a one-on-one battle, I still had fun with it because like I didn't realize his Pokemon would be so strong, and expect that I'm under leveled. I was like, oh snap, I've actually put myself in like a challenging spot, and it was a pretty good battle for just like a one-on-one Pokemon battle. But after you beat him, which is pretty easy to do, also.
Yeah, it was a really cool, memorable moment. Even if the fight itself didn't have much going on, it was just the atmosphere was really good.
Right. And his theme is really good too.
Yeah, it is. You also hear it again when you fight him full on. Nice. And spoiler alert, he uses the opposite Urshifu.
Oh, okay, that's cool. I was hoping for that.
and G
So,
maxes it.
oh gosh, I gotta collect more max mushrooms because I only have the max honey now. I didn't realize you would still need the max mushrooms to make the max soup. I thought I
Yeah,
thought the honey would substitute it.
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
If you
So
just like explore, you'll come across a few. Just every once in a while, come back. Just don't power through all of them because you will not enjoy it by the end.
I'll keep that in mind. So after you defeat Master Mustard in the tower of your choosing, there is a scroll behind him, and as you approach it, it's time for Kubfu to evolve, and it evolves into Urshifu. And at that point, it's you get your specific move for him. You get your my bad, not specific signature move for him, and after that, that's kind of the end until they want to explain to you how to get Gmax Urshifu.
It's
Which
also
is
worth
where,
noting that they don't have to evolve Kubfu into Urshifu if you don't want to. I saw someone with their Kubfu holding an Everstone, and they were like, "Oh, you don't want to evolve it? Well, that's fine. Come back to the scroll whenever you want to." I don't think you need the Everstone, and that's definitely
okay,
nice because Kubfu has more personality. But Urshifu's still pretty awesome, so
yeah.
still worth evolving.
When I was battling it, I had an Eviolite, so I was like, I'm just gonna take. I know I'm gonna evolve you soon, so I might as well just take chance of you getting the stat boost while we have the chance.
That was a good idea
Yeah.
for your lower level Kubfu getting through. Good
Yeah.
strategy.
And after you evolve Kubfu Tertiary, if you choose to, you head back to the master dojo, the Isle of Armor dojo, and Hop is there, which was a great thing to see, honestly, because again, Hop is due to Sword and Shield, the way that he was characterized so much, the way that his story played out. He's one of my favorite characters, like the entire game.
Yeah.
So him
I'm pretty
appearing
sure.
was. Say it
Sorry.
again.
I was saying, I'm pretty sure the Hop part of the story only shows up during the post game. Like, you can't get that if you're still haven't beaten it, which makes sense because Hop just straight up says what he does after the what his post game stuff is, so makes sense to do that.
Oh wait, you mean that so if you don't finish the post game of the base game, he won't appear?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he'll only appear after you complete either the main story or the post game. But either way, I'd already done that, so didn't really notice.
Okay. I wonder then what would happen, because if you didn't beat the post game, you wouldn't know that he decides to become a Pokemon professor.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, that's interesting to think about then. I wonder how it would play out afterwards, if it would tell you, hey, you should check out on Hop or something like that. That's interesting. But yeah, Hop appears and Sonia isn't there, but
Hop says she goes off to somewhere cold, so I'm almost guaranteed she's
Yeah, she which if we get to see her in the Crown Tundra, that's cool. Thanks for like foreshadowing that. I actually really like that. But the point of Hop being there is, of course, to show you how he's studying the Dynamaxing and Gigantamax phenomenon, and he wants to help you figure out how to get Urshifu to Gigantamax, and what that mission air quotes is basically just you guys going to the forest on the Isle of Armor, and you're trying to figure out what will sweeten up the max soup so that Urshifu can actually have it, and what you'll do is that you'll see some Petil, Petlittle and Lilligant, and there it's just that their nectar isn't good enough. Then you'll see
Applin.
I almost said Amoongus. Applin, that would be poisonous actually. Yeah, you see an Applin, and that nectar actually isn't good enough. So what you'll do is that you'll head to this honeycomb-like island that's near the water tower, and which listen, so weird thing for me. As I was exploring through Isle of Armor, I had already gotten there is a max honeycomb that you get when you go to the honeycomb, honeycomb island. Now I don't know if that was by chance, but when I went there while I was just traveling on my own, I already got the max honeycomb.
No way.
So the fact that it acts as it's even if you have the max honeycomb, you still have to do the mission.
Are you sure you didn't just get generic honey? Because the max honeycomb is a one-time item for this one specific mission.
No, I had max honey. I had a max honeycomb.
Wow. Okay then.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah, I can double check right now just to make sure, because I should have 2, right? If that's the case.
Oh yeah, I remember I had Max Honeycomb. Doesn't have like an alternate effect, so I guess it makes sense to get multiple, but
Well, I mean, one of them says like this works well for was it Vespa Queen? So like unless it says something different, which I don't assume it would, but actually I thought it just said, hey, I already had one, so I was like, well, why do I need to do this mission again if I'm just gonna be collecting the same exact item? So, but yeah, you still have to. You go to the Honeycomb Island and you have to fight this Dynamax Vespa Queen. And me not realizing that, oh, I can bring back my other Pokemon now because everything is pretty much done. I only went in with Urshifu, and I lost. And then I was like, okay, well, you know what? It's a.
This place was not kind to you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I just looked at my bag. I have 2 Max Honeys.
Wow. Okay then.
Yeah. So you have to do the mission no matter what. Which is I'm kind of like I get why, but like if I already have the Max Honey, why do I have to do this again? It's kind of just it was kind of annoying, but I get it. But anyways, at first I only had Urshifu. I lost. And I was like, okay, well it's a bug type. I'll do fine. So I brought my Cinderace on the team. I was like, and then I was like, oh, I lost again. You know, maybe I'll go give my Cinderace some G-Max, some Max soup so we could Gigantamax. I still lost. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm bringing back the whole team. Just put all my Pokemon and Urshifu back in there. We're gonna take on this Vespa Queen, and then we finally won. And then after I was like, okay, well, I have the Max Honey now again. Let's go back to the dojo, and now at this point, it's just, hey, you can battle Master Muster, which is the last thing you have to do, which I haven't done yet. But after that, that's basically it, right?
Yeah, for the main story, that's pretty much it. There is some new stuff that's opened up, like Restricted Sparring, which is basically the battle tower, both limited heals, and you can only go into 3 Pokemon of the same type. Your enemies aren't restricted to that, so it's pretty much just challenge mode. I tried that with my, I don't mean to flex, my shiny double, Shiny Obstagoon and Snorlax, and it was really fun.
That's cool. Gosh, you have a lot of shinies then. I only brought over the shinies that I have from my older games. I have my shiny Salandit evolved into Salazzle as I was traveling through the Isle of Armor.
That's a really cool shiny to have.
It really is. Oh god, I love its shiny so much.
It's not easy to get either.
Oh, I got lucky through a Wonder Trade back in Sun and Moon. So it was yeah. I wish that was a Pokemon I was actually trying to get shiny for myself, but I got it completely by chance. So that was, I mean, I'll still call it mine, even though it's not mine on the trainer name.
Fair enough. Anyway, back on topic.
Yeah.
You also get to dump all of your watts into funding the dojo to get new stuff, which at first is helpful. I haven't done it all. It starts turning into just give me a ton of watts and I'll give you something useless. And at the very end, you get to fight Honey, which really isn't much, but you fight her. She's like a little weaker than Mustard. She fights with the G-Max starter you didn't pick. It's kind of cool, but I didn't do it.
I was actually going to ask if you can battle Honey.
Well, yes, you can.
Oh my gosh, thank you for telling me that. Now I'm gonna play the Isle of Armor more.
Okay,
yeah,
be
I'm
careful
definitely
because
going
you'll need a lot of watts.
Yeah, I'm already at the point where I'm at the PC now where I still need another 5,000 watts to activate it. I already did that the first half of it where it said you need like what 10,000. I gave her the first 5,000 in order to do it. So now I just need another 5,000 to actually activate it. That kind of rubbed me the wrong way because you already have, you at any point you can just use the go exactly to the box by just pressing the R button in your Pokemon. Yeah. So it's like, okay, well, this is just for league cards now.
There is some useful stuff though, like if you can put up a vending machine, and then once you've completely put in the vending machine, because obviously you need to give her 2 sets of watts to completely fill it, then you get all the vitamins you could want for a cheap price, which is very helpful.
Ooh, that's actually really nice. Okay, they really took into account like what you'd want. Like they put everything in there so you don't have to keep traveling back and forth. I guess that's really nice.
Another extra feature that I really like is someone on the Isle who I forgot if it's for a price or not, but she'll completely erase all of your Pokemon's EVs, which is perfect. Which is perfect for if you want to start when you want to reset their EV spread and make it actually competitive.
Okay, thank you. You know what? With you being the competitive stream, that's actually like a really good thing to have me informed on
Yeah,
because
like
I would not have mentioned this if I was like doing like a solo review. So having you on was like a really good thing. It's a really good thing now. It's even better than it was before.
yeah, thanks. And not to forget the brand new moves. None of them are like crazy unique, but like a ground type version of Scald and stuff like that is really cool to have for
Wait, a, a ground type version of Skull, but like it
you know
burns you
Scald like
still?
the yeah, it's called
That's
Scorching
ooh,
Sands.
that's interesting. Huh. Gotta check that out.
Got a bunch of cool niche moves like a multi-hitting dragon move.
Mm, okay. There's also one of the things that we didn't mention earlier, which I mean I haven't used the feature that much, but there's also Honey's son. That's her son,
The
right?
Cramomatic. Yeah, the Cramomatic.
Yeah.
I didn't use that much because it's really RNG based, but you can apparently get some good stuff from it if you
Right.
look into it. But for now, I'm kind of satisfied with what I have. So even though I didn't go into it myself, if you get lucky, it could be helpful. It's just there.
I just use it occasionally to see what would happen. But that's if you get the apricots that are on the island, right? You can of course use it to get Pokeballs like in the Gen 2
Yeah.
games, right?
I like it when those Pokeballs come back. They are definitely making them accessible because they know that people like to have the aesthetics of different Pokeballs.
Absolutely. And if they wanted to go all the way, they could bring back the capsule balls from Pokemon from Gen 4. That would be really nice.
Oh yeah, the
But
capsules. Well, I'm sure they're going to be back eventually when Gen 4 is eventually remade.
if it ever happens.
Well, maybe. Who knows?
Maybe.
It's not 2D anymore, so.
Yeah. But that's really, I guess, it for the Isle of Armor with that. Unless there's anything that we're forgetting to mention, is there anything that I should know of outside of what you already mentioned?
There isn't really much left to say of content-wise, but I do want to say I think there's a really good sign of them taking into account what people didn't like about Sword and Shield and trying their best to make a more interesting wild area, bring back Pokemon, make it even
Right.
easier to be a competitive trainer. It's all really good stuff that I really enjoyed seeing, even for the stuff I didn't use. I think it was a really good DLC. Kind of, it's the ideal. What do you expect from a DLC?
Right. And I would say that they're also making a good step forward into trying to push Pokemon to be more of an open world type game, which is what a lot of people have been asking for. Not
Yeah.
in, like before it was just open world in the sense of, oh, let us battle any gym in any order we want, which also came with, hey, let us explore the region how we want to. Even though in some cases, like you have to find workarounds if you don't have the right HM. But if you're in the case of, hey, let me with the Isle of Armor, it's like, hey, I want to do this thing right now. I don't have to do anything else. Let me just go around to that. If I want to explore like the loop region, was not loop region, the loop lake or something like that. That's in
Yeah.
the Isle of Armor. I can go do that. If I want to go find some Dynamax Pokemon, some Gigantamax Pokemon, let's go do that right away. There's Isle of Armor gives you a lot of options of how you want to travel the area, and even though there's not like a lot of tasks that you can do outside of the main story, I definitely see that if Pokemon continues to go in this route, it can definitely move in a way that Pokemon Sword and Shield was trying to open up towards, and that's a really good thing because it's never gonna get Breath of the Wild's level crazy, but having that type of thing where it's kind of similar to almost a bit similar to the anime where we're constantly with Ash and friends. They're traveling through the region at like their own pace, and it may like even though he's just 10 years old, it's literally days upon days of them just enjoying themselves in the wild. If we can have that in the actual Pokemon games, that's like a dream come true for me.
Yeah, I agree. Overall, I think that Pokemon Sword and Shield, and to a lesser extent the DLC, is being heavily criticized now, but I think in the future we're definitely going to look to it and think of all the good changes it signaled and eventually brought about, because I'm sure we're going to have a way more fleshed out, movable camera world to explore with,
Right.
maybe if we're lucky, better players to, traveling around with us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if they keep going in this direction, there's definitely going to be a lot of Pokemon Sword and Shield may not have as much of a negative outlook as it did when it launched.
Yeah,
I mean,
like
there's some positives outlook still, but I would say that my outlook was pretty negative,
mhm,
even though if it wasn't like, oh, I hate this game, it's just like, nah, I kind of don't want to touch this anymore. And then the DLC
yeah.
really helped me want to play this game more now, and I believe that with Crown Tundra coming out, I think depending on how that goes, because they're really loading that DLC up with legendaries. Which, I mean, if you already moved all your Pokemon over, you already have all the legendaries, but still,
I
nonetheless.
didn't. I didn't
Oh,
buy home, so even though I have all the legendaries, they're still over there, and I definitely like being able to catch the legendaries whenever needed.
oh, okay. Then yeah. If you don't have the legendaries, then that's good, all good for you. Because I already have all the legendaries, so it's like, okay, well, I mean, time to get a third Zekrom again. Time to get my
Yeah,
fourth Dialga that I already got from GameStop for being shiny like 3 times already from having multiple copies of the games. It's yeah,
that's definitely true. But there's more to the
yeah,
Crown Tundra, luckily, like brand new species and stuff like that.
right. And then the new Reggies, the Galarian
Yeah,
bird
those Galarian
trios.
birds are like really exciting. They look
Yeah,
really cool.
Galarian Zapdos. I can't wait to get my hands on that because it looks so cool.
Yeah, I know. That's my favorite too.
Yeah,
So yeah, overall, I think it's a really good step forward for Pokemon not having done a third version this time. It's
right.
as good a first step of DLC as I could have expected from Pokemon Sword and Shield. So I'm overall really satisfied with it. Can't wait for
Absolutely.
Crown Tundra.
Right. What would you say that how would you rate like I know we have the out of 5 system, so I guess what would you rate the Isle of Armor as?
Hmm. Well, as far as a DLC for the game it is, I'd give it a solid, in terms of like should you get it or not, a 4 out of 5, which might sound really high, but I just think that as far as like how much it improves on the base game, it's a very worthwhile DLC to have, especially since it's a one-time purchase for 2 expansions, one of which is looking to be even better.
Right. I would agree. I would say though that if I kind of do wish that if it was a split purchase where like you could kind of buy one and then buy the other, like it'll
Yeah,
give you it at a discount, kind of like how if you buy Bayonetta 1 you get Bayonetta 2 at a discount, something like that.
for free
Uh,
actually.
Say it again.
I'm pretty sure the Switch sold Bayonetta 2 for and then you got Bayonetta 1 for free, but if you're talking
Oh
about
no
the
no
Wii
no.
U, then
I I
I'm
I bought
wrong.
I bought Bayonetta 1 and then it has like a 40 or 20% discount off of Bayonetta 2.
Well, that's cool.
So yeah, because
Well, yeah, they probably should add something like that so that you can test out the DLC and how you feel about it.
yeah, I can't if they should do that. But if I think knowing myself, considering the fact that I didn't like Sword and Shield that much, with Isle of Armor changing my perception of the game and like how I see it now, and the fact that I kind of want to play it more, I definitely think that you should purchase the Isle of Armor DLC and basically the whole expansion pass. I think it's like $30, right?
Yeah,
$30.
30.
Yeah, so I think that's even though Isle of Armor is kind of short, it's like I mean 5 hours maybe. I guess it took me 5 hours.
Yeah.
So like that might be short to you, but it's considering the fact that the way that it's packed with a lot of fun, I definitely think you should pick it up. And also, one thing I did want to mention earlier, in comparison to the base game, it's not like the graphics are the exact same, but they definitely did blow Isle of Armor out with a lot of foliage and stuff like that. With like
Yeah.
actually making the areas look better. You have views where you can actually see the tower from like across the lands and stuff like that. The views in this game are really nice.
It's
So
probably like the
if
best glow up I've ever seen from a game compared to like DLC. Like I've never
yeah,
seen a DLC look that much better than a game except for here. It's not crazy, but I just appreciate it.
right, they really made the like when people were all talking about the tree, is like you're like, yeah, the tree might still be like the texture on the tree might still be there, sure, but everything else around it is so beautiful that it does like you probably won't even notice it. You won't care anymore.
Yeah.
If you cared about it in the first place for some reason. But yeah, that's I guess that's all we can really say for the Pokemon DLC now. We still have one more to check out when that comes out in the
Right.
fall. Hopefully it doesn't get pushed back because of the current ongoings. But it's Isle of Armor was just was a really fun experience to bring me back into Pokemon when I was kind of really scared about not of losing my touch with the franchise after well, not 20 years, but like, I guess
Yeah.
18, 17 years now.
I'd also just like to quickly thank the Isle of Armor for giving us a bike and a uniform that doesn't make us look like losers.
Yeah, I'm using the silver one, the green, with the green sparkles. I really like that one.
Yeah, it's definitely the best. If you're gonna force us to wear clothes on the bike, at least don't make it look that bad. So they've helped.
Yeah. So that's really all we have to say about the Isle of Armor. Thank you once again to Nintendo.
Also, Diglett hunting. Sorry.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
right,
We should
yeah,
quickly say
the
that.
Diglett hunting. Is basically the game's Korok seeds.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't found all of them, but I do go out of my way sometimes to actually look for them.
It's ridiculous, but I like that the alternate forms have a easy way to be accessed in Sword and Shield now. I'm sorry for getting in the way.
No, it's all right. It's all right. It's all right. We didn't mention that, so I mean, we probably should have. If you like exploring, even though like the Isle of Armor, it looks small. It's kind of big. It's like medium size. So like if you're gonna go actually do the Diglett hunting thing, I think you'll have a lot of fun with that. If your main goal is to like explore the land and even still like encounter wild Pokemon because that's something you like to do. If you like shiny hunting and stuff like that, they left something for you to do passively while you travel the area. So that's also like another bonus as well. So thank you once again to Nintendo for sending us a review code. I've been PhantomZ2, and thank you once again to Hamada for coming with me on this review discussion. And I hope that you guys can share your thoughts down in the comment section below of what you thought about Isle of Armor. Did you like it? Did you dislike it? What were your highlights? What were your lows, I guess? And if you do like our content, you can like the video and subscribe for more. Check out our website and our Patreon down in the description down below, and always remember to return to the source.